Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. I bring you guys our team builder here for week 10 of the APA. The St. Louis Rampardos are taking on my good friend Chase and the Detroit Steel Wings, CrimsonCBAD, who has started off the season, I believe, 4-5 so far. We are 7-2 after a couple really rough losses, man. I'll talk about those briefly. I'll also talk about them in the match, but basically last week, man, I did everything I could to prep, but he just had sticky web, dude, and there was nothing my team could handle. Like, I had nothing for sticky web, dude, and I didn't feel like Torque Hole was a good bring because he had the Jellicent, and I wasn't gonna be able to break through that. So he made a really good decision in prep to bring Scarf Masquerade to ensure that he can get sticky webs up. And from there, I just had nothing. And this week, we have a similar problem where I have sticky webs against my opponent. I do want to let you guys know I did make a transaction on the team to hopefully mitigate this issue moving into playoffs, because you know, we're in a situation where I think if we win 1 out of our next 3 or 4 games or whatever, we're gonna make playoffs pretty much. So we're in a good spot, but I did make a move, so I ended up dropping Araquanid, which is our sticky web user, and I picked up Ribombee, another sticky web user. My logic here is Ribombee does get defog, so it gives us a second option for hazard removal, something our team lacks otherwise. I really felt like that was a pretty important move, and it gives us another fairy type and a really fast Pokemon. So as much as I love Araquanid, I felt like I needed Ribombee on the team to give me a defogger and to give me a secondary option for hazard removal. So hopefully I don't get destroyed by webs again in the future. At least I'll have something that can get rid of them, you know what I mean? So I wish I had Ribombee this week. It actually has an okay matchup, but unfortunately I don't get it until next week. But I have webs again, man, and it's gonna be tough, dude. Like, I feel like I've been playing I don't feel like I've necessarily been playing bad, but we've had like a pretty significant skid lately with the last couple games, and I really got to bounce back, man. You know, we got to bounce back and get a W, so hopefully that happens here against Chase. He's got a pretty tough team, though. Weather War going down for sure. Excadrill, obviously 88 base speed, hits really hard. Sand Rush, Mold Breaker, 2 different great abilities. I feel like in this situation, he can easily bring Sand Rush, though. I don't see a reason for him to bring Mold Breaker. I think Sand Rush makes a lot of sense. I think he could bring Mega T-Tar with the Sand. It makes a lot of sense to me. Swords Dance, Excadrill could be a problem. Mega Tyranitar is his Mega Evolution. Obviously, set Sand. It's really, really bulky, especially because it gets that special defense boost. Really, the best way to take it out is to just hit it repeatedly. It doesn't have leftovers recovery, or just bop it with a fighting move on the physical side. That's really the best way to go. He's got a Latios, which is always incredibly scary. It is one of his Z Crystal users. I'm expecting an Electrium Z Latios this week. I think that's one of his best ways to deal with Celesteela, so I think he's going to bring something like that, but he could also bring a lot of different other sets, so I'm not quite sure there. But Latios is definitely a threat. Arcanine, another thing that I feel like he could bring. Arcanine, of course, gets Intimidate. I feel like he'll probably bring that. Maybe he brings Flash Fire as a way to stop Houndoom, but like an AV, you know, Arcanine could be his way to deal with Houndoom, but nevertheless, Arcanine is a pretty, you know, naturally bulky Pokemon, can be physically offensive or specially offensive. It's just a good Pokemon in general. His second Z Crystal user is Gyarados. If he brings Z Gyarados, it'll likely be Z Bounce. I feel like that's his way to get through Celebi or Como-O, but, you know, I'm hoping he doesn't go that route, because that could be really problematic for my team, just because Gyarados is such a threat. He's got two Intimidate users, but both can run other abilities that I think would be viable here, Moxie or Flash Fire in the case of Arcanine. But Gyarados obviously has that big electric weakness, which he has pretty covered across his team. So Roserade, grass and poison type Pokemon, relatively fast. I believe it does get Dazzling Gleam and things like that, so it does have ways to kind of deal with you know, Como-O and stuff like that. So we got to be really careful there. A Life Orb, Hidden Power, Technician, Roserade would be very scary for my team. Aromatisse is a very bulky fairy type Pokemon. I don't anticipate a Trick Room variant this week, but I do think Aromatisse could come. Pretty much anything could come on his team, really, and that's kind of how it's been as of late when I feel like I'm team building. But Aromatisse is just a really bulky fairy and one of his best ways to deal with things like Como-O. Hitmonlee, very scary. It's a hazard remover, but more importantly, Unburden, as its ability allows to double its speed and just hit like an absolute truck. Obviously with those high jump kicks and stuff. He may be a little hesitant to bring Hitmonlee, though. I think with me having a Cresselia, me having a you know, a Mimikyu, I feel like he may just leave that out. Cloyster, obviously a huge threat to Shell Smash. Always got to be scared of potential Shell Smash threat. If he sets up that Shell Smash, he could just sweep from there. So always got to be careful there. He's got the Golbat, of course. You know, talking back to Cloyster, it does set a bunch of hazards too, so we always got to be careful there. Golbat is just a really bulky Eviolite, Poison, and Flying type. It can be really difficult to take down, especially since it has Recovery and Roost, so we're going to have to hit it super effectively if we want to beat that, but it doesn't have a ton of damage output. And then last but not least is Galvantula, which I'm very scared of, because Galvantula is a tremendous matchup against my team, offensively or sticky web based. Obviously, like a Life Orb set can hit incredibly hard against a lot of my team. You know what I mean? Like he can go, he could Thunderbolt, he could Thunder, he can Volt Switch, he can Bug Buzz against things like Cresselia, Thunder, and Thunderbolt against things like Celesteela. You know, Hidden Power Ice for Nidoking. I feel like he's got a really good matchup with his Galvantula, so I wouldn't be surprised if he brought that or even scarfed it, to be honest. So I think I built the right team for this matchup, though. This was a tough one, as usual, and we're dealing with weather. So the first thing when I built my team, I kicked it off with Torkoal. I'm not making the same mistake I made last week where we just auto lost to webs, and you know, I knew going into the match against Jacob that I was gonna pretty much lose if he got webs up, and I just felt like there wasn't much I could do about it. In hindsight, I should have just brought Torkoal. That was the only thing. And you know what's funny is, like, against the team that he ended up bringing, Torkoal wouldn't have been bad because it would have helped me stop Bulu, which is something I failed to do. So I didn't, you know, it was stupid. It was just really not the greatest prep on my part. I really felt like Torkoal wasn't that great of a bring because of the Jellicent, but I really should have just saw that it stopped the Bulu pretty well, and that it would have been able to you know, at least give me a chance to get those webs off the field, so I have an opportunity to potentially pull the game back, which could have happened, you know, like either way. But nevertheless, I'm bringing Lava Plume, Rapid Spin, Stealth Rock, Earth Power with leftovers, not the Heat Rock this time. I don't feel like the Heat Rock is that important. I'd actually rather have leftovers because this is one of my ways to deal with things like Arcanine. It's one of my ways to deal with Gyarados. It can actually kind of help against Galvantula because if he doesn't have Thunderbolt and only has Thunder, we can set the Sun against him, and obviously we can change the weather against Excadrill. We are max HP, max defense, so we can live one Earthquake from a Life Orb Excadrill, which is good to know. Lava Plume obviously just hits a couple things hard, potential burns, and then Earth Power there for Arcanine. I really wish I could fit Hidden Power Electrogun here for Gyarados. I just can't, obviously, so I have to carry, you know, I have to carry Rapid Spin. I just had to, and I felt like Stealth Rock was too good against this team when he has an Arcanine, a Gyarados, and a Golbat that could potentially be worn down quite a bit. Next Pokemon is going to be our Mega Houndoom this week. Rocking a Naive Nature, Dark Pulse, Sucker Punch, Flamethrower, Hidden Power Fighting. That Hidden Power Fighting obviously is geared towards Tyranitar. You know, we can hit that thing really hard. He's going to change the weather on us, though, no matter what. But, you know, so there's the Weather War there, and I feel like that's going to be his primary answer to my Houndoom, is probably that Tyranitar. Everything else in his team, maybe, like I said, a defensive, like Assault Vest Arcanine could be a thing, but even Dark Pulse and Sun is still going to hurt that. Obviously, Sucker Punch is there because he's got a lot of things that could be pretty fast. Excadrill and Sand, Latios, which is really nice. I could Sucker Punch if he's Choice Scarf or Dragon Dance variant, and obviously we can hit some other things pretty hard with this thing, but this thing's main job is to break his team. If I can get the Sun up and then start hitting some pretty good attacks, I feel like Sirius can definitely put in some work. He doesn't really have the greatest switch-ins to Houndoom, especially if Sun's up, so I think it's just a really good matchup for us this week with this. But again, when you're dealing with the Weather War, I can't really guarantee that I'm going to be able to, you know, manage keeping the Sun up. So, you know, we kind of have to rely on Houndoom functioning without the Sun. Next Pokemon is going to be our Celesteela. Celesteela is a great matchup this week from a defensive perspective. I didn't really feel like offensively it was all that great with all the Intimidators and things like that. But defensively, I feel like it's pretty good because once Latios is gone, Latios and Arcanine, really, and I guess Galvantula. Once I get those things gone, like, this thing can really wall a lot of his team. Like, it should be able to shut down, for the most part, Tyranitar. It can definitely shut down Excadrill, and it does stop Latios if he doesn't have Electrium Z. Like, I can definitely take some Thunderbolts. We are very specially defensive, so I could take those hits. Obviously, things like Arcanine match up really well, and so on and so forth, but I really feel like Celesteela could be pretty effective in this game. And obviously, we do have the Flash Fire and Houndoom prior to Mega Evolution, so that could prove to be useful as well. But this thing helps me stop things like Roserade and just so on and so forth. So really being specially defensive to take a couple hits. Flamethrower for Galvantula, obviously. Heavy Slam for Tyranitar and stuff. It's pretty straightforward what we're doing here, but Protect is there for that Z move scout. I think that that's pretty important. You know, potentially scouting a Z move and even like a high jump kick from a you know, Hitmon Lee, like that could be pretty sick. So some options there. Como Bro coming back again. I'm bringing a similar set to last week, actually. I like this set, though. Close Combat, Clanging Scales, Substitute, Autotomize with Leftovers. So kind of a bulkier set. We got some HP investment there. The logic here is Autotomize is going to make me fasten everything on his team, including a Choice Scarf, Latios that doesn't allow us to outspeed Excadrill, though, in Sand, but nevertheless, we're outspeeding everything else on his team, including, like I said, Choice Scarf, Latios, and Choice Scarf, you know, Galvantula, so I think that that's pretty important. We've got the Substitute there because I feel like if I bring in Como against, you know, Tyranitar or Excadrill, like I can just click Substitute for the most part because I feel like it's less likely that he stays in, knowing that I could easily Drain Punch back any health that he takes away. So I really like that option there, specifically Tyranitar. Like I could bring it in, and if his play is to go into like Latios, I can easily just, you know, substitute up. Autotomize obviously allows me to get faster than those Pokemon, and Clanging Scales is really cool because it is a sound-based choice move, so it is going to go through substitute. So I'm very concerned about like a substitute Gyarados or something to that effect, like a sub DD Gyarados or like a sub taunt Gyarados, where it tries to set up on me. So that kind of mitigates that option, as I can always Clingy Scales, and I'll naturally outspeed the Gyarados. I'm gonna naturally outspeed you know, defensive Arcanine and things like that. So we're pretty fast for the most part, and we'll outspeed max speed Tyranitar as well. So we've got a couple options there, but really like mix set, super weird, but hopefully it works, because you know, like I said, if we get that Autotomize up and his team's weakened, we could definitely put in some work, and more so, like I said, the substitute can really help us out. It also prevents like Intimidate from Arcanine if I get a substitute up. So really, if I can get this thing in against Tyranitar, we're gonna be in pretty decent shape. So, and once the sand is gone, like I feel like if we could win the weather war, we'll be in okay spot. I decided to bring Reptar this week, our Nidoking. A very tough choice with some of the other Pokemon, but I felt like Nidoking was just too good to pass up. Sucker Punch, obviously, for Latios, and again, Excadrill and Sand. You know, that thing's such a big threat. Thunderbolt for Gyarados. We do outspeed that thing naturally. Earth Power, obviously, for Arcanine and pretty much everything else. And Sludge Wave for Aromatisse, because my Como-O is completely walled by Aromatisse. So I felt like being able to go into Reptar on that thing is solid. And Reptar's typing is really important this week, because it's the best thing I have, like, defensively, type-wise at least, to deal with Galvantula. So if I can make him question going for Volt Switch or whatever, because I have a ground type, then that's valuable in itself. You know, things like Roserade, if he's like, you know, max speed offensive Roserade with like Leaf Storm, we're gonna get blown back, like Extra Sensory, things like that. So it's kind of tough there, but you know, otherwise, like, we can stand in front of Gyarados and stuff like that and threaten it out. You know, Sucker Punch is there. Sucker Punch plus Earth Power, or Sucker Punch plus Sludge Wave into Latios is gonna knock it out. You know, things like that. Sucker Punch is there for Excadrill and to do big damage there. So, you know, Nidoking is kind of a weird matchup this week. I don't know if it's going to be amazing or not, but it's one of the few things that I have that can, like, he just really doesn't have a safe option to switch into it. You know, like, you can't switch in, like, he can say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna switch in Excadrill, but like, are you really gonna switch in an Excadrill on Nidoking where it's gonna one-shot you? You know what I mean? So we are gonna have to make predictions, but you know, if we're able to do that, then we can definitely put in some serious work. So I definitely like this Nidoking set. And then last but not least, I'm excited about this one. We got our Lycanroc this week. Bringing that Choice Band Lycanroc. Choice Band and Brick Break does one-shot defensive Mega Tyranitar. Accelerock obviously does a tremendous amount to Gyarados and to Arcanine, obviously, and the priority against Latios is nice. You know, Drill Run for, you know, Drill Run and Brick Break for you know, Excadrill and stuff. And then Stone Edge just like bodies parts of his team. So I feel like this Pokemon can be really, really good, and we do speed tie with Latios. So we can put in some serious work. And again, like, I feel like if I can handle defensively the Excadrill, which I think we can do with things like Como-O and Celesteela, you know, Lupin should be able to do some pretty good things. And I really feel like this is a good lead option. My sincerest hope is that I lead Lycanroc and he leads Tyranitar, and he thinks I can't knock him out, and then I just Brick Break one-shot him. I don't know if that's too optimistic, but if he leads Galvantula against this thing, then I just go for the Accelerock and try to knock it out and hope that maybe he's Life Orb and doesn't expect me to knock him out. Like, I don't know what that calc is, but I'm assuming, like, let me look. Like, if I go Lycanroc, Dusk, let's take a look. If I'm Life Orb, if I'm Life Orb Lycanroc Dusk against Galvantula, does Galvantula live in Accelerock? No, it doesn't. So if he's Galvantula, there's no way he's staying in, unless he is Sticky Web. But you know, like, if he's Focus Sash, like, I'm okay breaking his Focus Sash and getting rid of that thing for my Lycanroc to you know, to put in some work against it. So that's our team strategy. We'll see how it goes, man. Obviously, webs are really tough again this week. At least I have a spinner, you know, and hopefully we can bounce back after this tough losing streak, because I hate losing, man. So let's bring it back. St. Louis Rampardos against the Detroit Steel Wings tomorrow. Get excited for that match. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Dan. I also go by aDrive, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace. Thanks so much for checking out my last video. If you like that one, you'll definitely like this one. And be sure to subscribe for more, as I post Pokemon videos every single day.